Let's start with some tips and tricks inside of Photoshop to speed up your workflow. We have a ready-made statue head that Maureen has created later on in the course, and inside the groups are layers for each part of the head. We're going to start with a clipping mask. This allows us to paint inside the shape by creating a clipping layer above it. First, create a new layer. Do this by clicking on the layer icon in the Layers palette. We're going to make a gradient overlay on top of the statue. To do that, let's first select the colour by going to the foreground and selecting a light purple. We've got one selected already, so we'll increase the brightness more. Purple generally works well with green, so that'll be a good colour choice. Now select the gradient tool in the main palette. Go inside of the gradient type picker at the top of the screen and select it so the gradient goes from purple to transparent. Now keep Shift pressed and drag the gradient line up. Pressing this fixes the line so it's straight. If you want it to be at an angle, the gradient, just take your finger off the Shift button. For this we want a straight gradient, so leave your finger on the Shift button and have a light coming from above. Now you can see the gradient affects everything in the scene, outside of the statue. With a clipping mask we can make sure the gradient draws exactly inside the statue shape. Press Alt on the keyboard and keep your finger down, then hover exactly between the gradient and the group layers. You will see a white square and arrow appear. If you go slightly above or below, it disappears. Make sure you're exactly in the middle of the layers, then click down with your pen or click on your mouse. Now the gradient will clip inside of the shape below. It's a really useful technique that is used in the course, and I've used it a lot for making game graphics. To make the colour appear more subtle, go to the Layers palette and select the blend mode. We will set it to soft light. This darkens or lightens the colour depending on the blend colour. When we add it here, purple becomes more of a blue and less strong. We can make the gradient even more subtle by adjusting the opacity or fill of the layer. The difference between fill and opacity is fill only affects the painted pixels and vector object. All styles and blending modes remain the same. Changing the opacity value will affect both the object and all the effects applied to it. As we have no effects applied to this object, we can just use either one and get the same effect.